Looks like we have a Lock, Maru, and Realm start. We'll see what skills we have because our skills are randomized.
See, Realm was Rage there. I didn't quite see what Locke had on him, and I don't think either of them are going to check right away what Rages are there. So, Locke has Sketch. Okay. So that could be interesting, looking at Rages.
If nothing else, that gets rid of Ultros 3.
You know, I did miss that in the flag set as well, that you do start with all the Rages in this particular flag set.
We have a Man-Eater in the first chest. That's a nice sword for early game.
Yep.
Looks like Jack is going straight for a free check. Hopefully he saw the scaling and the extra enemy levels.
He's going to check that Cursed Shield first. 6 on the Cursed Shield. That seems like a pretty easy no-brainer to just go ahead, throw that Cursed Shield on, and that's going to be a Paladin Shield pretty quickly.
Paladin Shield will eventually lead into Ultima, but it's also one of the best shields in the game.
Yep, this flag set does have the no Ultima flag off, and we do see Snow Muffler and Genji Shield at the lock item check as well, so really good pickups early on. You know, Ultima pretty quickly, Snow Muffler pretty quickly, so pretty early on you're going to have someone who's going to be very hard to kill with these physical damage bosses, who can probably also cast Ultima.
Yeah, so they have Paladin Shield, one of the best shields in the game, and they have Snow Muffler, which, while not the highest tier armor, is definitely up there as one of the best.
Yep, we are seeing Jack taking off his Moogle Charm and going straight in, so I think he might even be looking to just grind up quickly and get that shield uncursed, and he's going to be happy to see that 2 Lobo formation for it.
What you saw Jack do was take that weapon off of Locke, so he's just throwing fists. So even though he's confused, it's not going to do any damage. And open up that Flare Starter, that's a huge rage to have, so definitely very powerful.
Yeah, the only problem is that if he's trying to uncurse the shield early on, I believe he's not getting magic points yet, so he can't actually uncurse it quite yet. So he might end up going outside, seeing if he can find a different encounter. He might just keep the Moogle Charm off, do the sort of Mr. Amity strats where you just leave the Moogle Charm off and get XP through encounters. That seems very viable in this flag set as well. But honestly, with this gear, I'm not seeing that they're going to have too hard of a time early on.
So I don't know if you had noticed that, Enth, but we just saw back-to-back Behemoth suits in Narsh, and we have a very early experience egg. It looks like we may be buying a couple of them.
Yeah, early experience egg, early Snow Muffler, plus 3 Behemoth suits. If you can equip that to a full party, that's a full party with pretty good defensive gear that's gaining levels incredibly quickly with that plus that 10 times XP multiplier. So I don't think this is going to stumble up. We also have gem boxes available for sale in World of Ruin Zen, so that's going to help a lot with the Ultima once they get it.
We have Mega Elixirs for sale in the time that Jack is in. I didn't catch which one it was. Those are nice for the end of the game, not quite so for the beginning of the game.
Yeah, he's still in Narsh at the moment. He went straight back to World of Balance Narsh, Lock Cole Live, deciding to quickly go to Zen. I'm not sure if he's looking like he's going to immediately go for the World of Balance as well. A question in chat from Moondock of what the average time is for these runners for the first, I want to say, I don't know if this is for the first 8 weeks or not, but it was around 1:58 between the two of them. So right around the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, Jack had an average 8-week time of an hour 56:10. Lock an average time of an hour 59 and change. But one thing that we didn't touch on with the Kefka Grand Prix is the flags were not static. Every week we had a random drawing, and whoever won that week got to pick a flag set. So some weeks we had easier flag sets. Some, like week 6, which we won't really talk about, had quite difficult flag sets.
Yeah, less said about week 6 at the moment, the better. It's still a bit of a sore spot for people. I did notice just now that Locke did pick up a ribbon in the Returner's hideout, so he's going to have a very easy time uncursing that shield. He doesn't have to worry about the Confuse or the Silence or anything like that. Really only has to worry about the Doom timer, which not really going to matter that much. Also, an Aegis Shield in Returner's Hideout as well.
Jack finding some slurms, but they've been beefed up a little bit, so we'll see how much EXP they give when they get dropped down. They're going to be pretty beefy at this point, though.
Yeah, I'd almost be worried with how he doesn't really have any good way of doing multi-target damage right now, of Locke just dying to that Doom timer. I couldn't quite make it out because he's still on that. I guess it's still 30 seconds, so he should be fine.
Yeah, he just hit 31. There's a Flare Star, so the Flare Star should take it out. Yep, there go them, and we'll see how many levels we get from that. About 3,400 experience, so they got quite a few. We're up to level 11 now.
Moogle Charm goes back on, so he's happy with that. And now backing out of that South Figaro Cave, I wonder if he's just saving or if he's... Yeah, he's just saving. Okay.
So we did see a little bit of an alternative, like we were discussing at the pre-game. We see Locke doing some shopping, and we see Jack just trying to get some levels and seeing what he can find in checks. So it's a matter of which path you kind of want to take. Gonna check the Eternal Armor here and hopefully make some progress. See what boss we have first off. First boss of the finals is... And here's your charter Nook.
Yep, as you were just mentioning, this does not have the more demon flag on. He's actually just going to reset out of it, does not want to deal with that right now. And honestly, I can't blame him, because that's going to be a long fight that he might not be able to deal with that Doom timer ticking away.
Yeah, you might want to try to find some rods in shops, or something that we can do to deal some fire damage.
Speaking of rods and shops, Locke just found ice rods, I believe, in Albrook in World of Balance. So, that's an option if Jack ends up going there to check.
I don't think ice will damage Sharnak too great. Oh, we have some Minervas for sale. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, Albrook is pretty well stacked with those Minervas and rods and what have you. Gold hairpins as well, not the most useful, but I guess they can help in a pinch. Looks like Jack going now back to grinding in Narsh. I think he just wants to get the easy levels where he has easy access to a heal right there, and I wonder if he's going to go try and do one of the other checks afterwards, or if he's going to go back and once he has levels say, okay, I can deal with this Chatter Nook now, I can just go right there right now.
Unfortunately, this fight is not the easiest. Those retainers can be quite a bit of damage pretty quickly.
Yeah, he has gotten a bit unlucky with that. Question in chat, did they lower the number of fights needed to transform Curse Shield? Yes, in this flag set, as Mildan just said, it is a random number between 1 and 32. In this case, it is 6 fights with the Cursed Shield equipped to uncurse it.
Yeah, when you pick up the shield, the old man will tell you exactly how many fights you need, so kind of gives you that little hint. And Paladin Shield will still need 100 mana to give you Ultima.
Or it can be like that one week in the KGP where we had buyable Curse Shields, but we couldn't find Locke, and if you're buying the Curse Shields, you have no clue how many it's going to take, and you're just hoping that it's low. I want to say that was week 7, but I can't, or not week 7, week 5, but I can't quite remember.
Jack unfortunately losing Realm to a trade-off, but he does take down that battle and gets a lot of experience.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this pays off for him in the end. I think it probably comes down to, does he end up finding the strong things that Locke has already found quickly enough to make up for the fact that Locke will probably have a bit quicker of fights, because, Locke knows where there's Minervas, he knows where there's rods for sale if he needs them to get past a check. He has a good knowledge advantage at the moment. Will that bit of XP early on and a bit more of a targeted sort of look, as he now seems to be going for Owzer's Manor, will that actually help Jack more than he's lost from not knowing that?
Well, one thing to give in Jack's corner is, A, he knows his rages, so he knows he has the Flare Star. B, he'll have Ultima, so he'll have that. So he has a lot of different types of offense than Locke does.
Yeah, and Locke also just found a Excalibur in a chest, which is interesting in this flag set. In this flag set where you have things that you can sell, he also just found viable super balls. In this flag set where you have things you can sell but not a way of generating money aside from that, how much does that Excalibur become worth it to use as a weapon? And how much does it become worth it to sell, to buy those Minervas, to buy those Aura Lances as we see him having now? Perhaps those bit better of weapons on.
So we do have a prediction in chat of who will win the Grand Prix. Feel free to put your predictions in.
I'm interested in seeing which way this goes because right now it's looking pretty one-sided, 80 to 20% roughly. Really, I don't think that it's possible to predict how this is going to go. You know, these are two runners who have been so close together all tournament that even, you know, if one of them appears to have a bit of an advantage right now, like I feel like Locke kind of does, I don't necessarily know if that will carry through the whole seed.
It really depends if we have a boss gate coming up, because I think at this point, Locke would be able to better handle a boss gate, whereas Jack might need to go look for stuff. If there is no boss gate, I think that Jack will have the better upper hand.
Yeah, I'd agree there, and plus he might pick up a lot of this stuff while he's just sailing around doing checks, and if that means that all this time that Locke has spent looking at shops could have just been spent going through checks and looking at shops later, then that's really going to tip the scales. But you never know. You know, we've already seen that Chowdernook that Jack wasn't quite comfortable going with. We will see what the Owser's Mansion boss is soon. Beyond that, Esper Mountain and Umaro's Cave are the only two things. Umaro's Cave locked behind the Tritok spot as well, so this could easily be locked behind a boss. It's just a matter of getting lucky on one of these.
Well, we know Locke is about to see his lovely Chowdernook, so he's probably not going to be too happy to see that.
He might not be happy to see it, but I wonder if he's going to go for it anyways with, you know, things like those Minervas, with those better weapons, with everything else. You know, he might be a bit more comfortable going for that because Minerva, Chowdernook mostly attacking with lightning, it's not really necessarily gonna matter.
We have Jack finding some level magic. Not as bad as it used to be, but still an awful thing to find this early into a seed.
Also pretty awful to find in this flag set in general because you really want to be gaining XP with every encounter since you're not really getting any benefit outside of the magic points, and magic points are pretty easy to come by on bosses. So in some ways this is kind of like a mandatory fight, but it's also a little bit of a wasted fight because you're not gonna get much of anything out of this.
It's possible that the can't escape from enemies' flag is on, so he might have been stuck doing it.
No, it is all escapable. I just actually, now that you mentioned that, went back to check, so either he wanted the fight for whatever reason or didn't think to escape from it either way.
So Locke versus Chowdernook, we'll see if Locke can push through it. Looks like Jack is just going to go straight up through the middle door, ignore those forest chests, and see what the boss of Owser's Mansion is.
Yeah, plus we'll also know what the reward for Owser's Mansion is as well, if it's a character or an Esper. If it's a character, and it's a character that opens up a lot of the map, I think probably I would be most happy personally to see Sabin here, or Sabin or Terra, because Terra's always great. That could really change things for him as well.
So it does does look like Locke. Try saying that 5 times fast. Did pick up a bunch of super balls, so he has a couple more to throw at Chowdernook here.
Yeah, and that combined with those flare stars doing 3,200, I think he's going to have a pretty easy time. Although the problem with Rage is when this boss turns back into the painting, he might not have the best time with it. And we do see Narsh Kefka at Bowser's Mansion. I feel like that is a pretty good thing to see here.
Yeah, Kefka's a bit of a pushover. In the vanilla game, he was kind of a pain because he had all the status ailments.
The status ailments, and you weren't quite ready necessarily at that point at least I wasn't back when I first played this game as a kid, ready for Ice 2 to suddenly come out and just destroy my entire party in a moment. So, but here, where we have Scaled Element on, we have a whole bunch of good items already, even that Jack has found, even without all that shopping, I don't think this is going to pose a big difficulty to either.
See, when I was a young Foals, and I was playing this for the first time back in vanilla, I remember playing with my cousins, and we were in my cousin's bedroom playing it. And we thought that was the end of the game. We thought we were all done. Needless to know, it was not.
Get through it at first to figure out whether or not it was the end of the game. I had to go back, load an earlier save, and grind. He does find Edgar there, though. And Edgar is interesting, because you can do all three of his checks in a row. I don't think anyone's going to necessarily go for that Figaro throne check just by itself. So the question is, where does he go from here? Does he go to... does he go back and try and deal with that Chotternook? Or does he go and deal with one of the new checks? Also worth noting, Locke did get through Chotternook and did pick up Phantom for it, which, while not necessarily optimal, can work as calmness protection for the final fight as well. So that could be a pretty big advantage if Jack doesn't go back for it anytime soon.
So we just saw Umaru do the absolute almighty yeet, jumping across the stage to grab Realm to throw her back across the stage and jump back a second time.
Sometimes you just gotta jump past every enemy to go pick someone up and throw them across the screen back to where you were and then jump back instead of just staying over on that side, which, I think we can all appreciate. At least he's keeping the necessary structure of the fight going.
Sometimes you just want to chuck a little girl across into a slime, I guess? I don't know.
I suppose. And it's looking like, I think I'm seeing the merchant sprite behind. Yep. So this is, again, not a character for Locke. This could mean that Jack has a bit of an advantage. We see Dullahan at the Esper Mountain check.
Dullahan's an interesting one. And growing up, I always thought it was undead. Alas, it is not. You would think so because it has a skeleton on it.
Yeah, it's the only living undead enemy in the game in vanilla, it seems, which is quite irritating. But I don't think it's going to necessarily pose... I feel like it poses less of a problem with Scale Element Flag on, because you don't have that chance of having your GP ending with 1 and then suddenly level Pearl just destroys everything.
Yeah, but he just casts Pearl normally, which he just did unlock, and almost took him out. So it's still kind of dangerous.
Yeah, but single target Pearl versus whole party Pearl, Sunbath, not necessarily what you want to see there either if he's going to use more than one of it, which I think he doesn't in the script. I can't quite remember off the top of my head.
Seems like a lot of dead checks so far.
It does, but at least the dead checks have had good items behind them. Sometimes you get the dead checks that's oops all Genji shields, and sometimes you get the dead checks like these where you get a Pearl Lance and a Snow Muffler, and that seems like an okay prize early on in a Progress ×3 seed. But I think the real question is there another character sitting around out there that's not behind that Bowser's Mansion check, and where does Locke go from here? Because if this seed is actually just locked behind that Edgar, then every check that he does like this is he picks up Tri-Talk, which not really very interesting to mention on its own, aside from its damage potential if you have multi-summon, which this flag set does not. Each check that he goes for that's not that's an Esper that could actually be him falling further and further behind if that Hauser's Mansion check ends up being mandatory.
We do have Kefka and Narsh, and we still do have the Omaro check, so we still have a couple other options, but yeah, it's starting to run out a little bit.
And I think he probably goes for Hauser's Mansion here, because you're not going to walk all the way up either Narsh completely unfounded. Well, maybe he's proven me wrong here.
Alright, so it looks like he's taking the Kefka and Narsh dip, not the Omaro check.
Yep, and Jack taking that Figaro Throne check and finding Sabin at it, so Sabin would jump. Seems like an easily good thing to have in a seed with buyable Aura Lances and the Pearl Lance you just picked up off of the sketchy guy in Zen.
We'll see what our prize for this Lion Climb Mount Narsh is. And it's either an Esper or a dead check. He's not going to bother looking.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother looking at this point either. You're looking for a character at this point. You're running out of options, and you need to find the way forward in this seed. I wouldn't take that either. With two characters that are kind of okay. And yeah, as far as chests go in this one, I feel like you would have seen people checking chests a lot more if they hadn't found an absolute trove of good things to buy in shops already. So there's an element of you could check chests, but you probably have the pieces you need to beat this seed already.
It looks like Locke is going to be doing a little bit more shopping still. Picks up yet another experience egg.
Yep, and Jack currently in the Imperial base check, so just going to take the easy 1 or 4 forced encounters, depending on whether or not this is a character, and might just swing through the rest of the save and checks after, and it seems to be Phoenix.
Alright, so Locke is going to do Hauser's Mansion, so he'll pick up his Edgar, which leads to Sabin. So he's on the right path at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like after he gets that Edgar, he's going to want to either go check the throne immediately, or he's going to want to do the whole Figaro Castle World of Ruin sequence. So I think that he'll catch up that bit of a gap in terms of characters. But he has fallen behind a little bit, and I wonder if it'll be enough to catch up quickly, or if it's one of those things where we're just going to be waiting for that moment that kind of swings us a little bit again.
We see it time and time again where two runners have taken absolutely different routes and still gotten the Kefka at pretty much the same time.
Yeah, and Jack now checking that Carbuncle with Bolt 2 and Bolt 3. Do you take the Carbuncle with Bolt 2 and Bolt 3 for doing Phantom Train? I'm guessing based on the fact that he hasn't reset already that he is going to do that.
Given that we do need 10 Espers and we're already 25 minutes in, we haven't really had one yet, I think we have to take it.
Yeah, I'd agree. It having good-ish spells is kind of a nice secondary benefit. I mean, obviously, if you want to go that route, you can just go Ultima in this seed, because you have the really easy to uncurse Curse Shield. As you can see, it's already been uncursed on his end anyways. So you don't really need Bolt 3, but it's much faster than waiting for the Ultima animation constantly, and Gigantos could be not a great thing to see there.
No, they are not. They do give the highest EXP yield of anything else in the game, so if you can win it, it's going to be a huge level gain. but they are quite difficult.
I think that Mirage Vest will help quite a bit that he has on Edgar in getting through this, because those attacks hurt. Really, really hurt. So if he can just dodge all of them, it's not a matter of can he get through it, it's a matter of how long is it going to take him.
And alive at the end to benefit from that experience. So Locke gets through Kefka and he's going to pick up his Edgar.
Yep, and I'll put him at 4 characters and 2 Espers to Jack's 5 characters and technically 2 Espers, but he needs to successfully escape Phantom Train for it, and down goes the Edgar. So this is looking like a bit of a rough spot that he's going to have to get himself back up out of. Was Realm at 29, and lucky block, there's the reset.
Yeah, the Mirage Vest is great until the Mirage wears out, and then it's not so great.
Yeah, and he's just going to skip out on that, not bother going through that for the Carbuncle right now. He might go back to it later, but not entirely sure he will. He's going to jump down Barren Falls instead, and we're going to see what's here instead of some piranhas.
Nothing worse than falling down a waterfall and seeing piranhas chasing you. I mean, I stand corrected.
Yeah, falling down a waterfall and seeing Doom chasing you might not be any better than the piranhas. It's kind of like, in some ways, a giant piranha with the sort of wings acting as fins and like that, except it hits a lot harder.
I dare to say he is the easiest of the 3 Guardians, though.
Oh yeah, by far, it's the easiest, unless you have access to stop, in which case I'd rather see Poltergeist. And he's just going to reset out of that as well, so that's a rough couple of checks there for him. Locke going through the Figaro checks now knows that this is not a character, so he's going for either an Esper or an item from that, and then we'll find the Sabin on the throne almost certainly right afterwards, so maybe this is starting to swing back in his direction just from a string of bad luck on Jack's end.
Yeah, what happened with Jack is, I don't know if you caught it, but Doom did his freeze move and got 3 of his 4 characters frozen.
It's like a memory back to, I want to say, week 1, when he was going through Kefka's tower, and he kept getting full party frozen just constantly, and just had the most terrible time. It was either week 1 or week 2, and like Mr. Entity, like Fraggle said in chat, you know, having traumatic flashbacks to the Frozen week at this point, because he is just getting frozen over and over again.
One needs to boo Mr. Entity in chat, please. Thank you.
And we are seeing Vanilla Tentacles in that position in Figaro Castle, which, I mean, at least he has the 4 party members to deal with it. It's better than seeing it at the later spots. Jack reaching the Mount Colts boss at this point, so we'll see if he's finally found a boss that's a bit less of a pain than the ones he's been finding.
Tentacles are always a pain in the butt. Never a fun fight to see, regardless of where it is.
Yeah, and is Inferno better than the other 2? In some regards, yes. In some regards, no. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, unfortunately, he ran into not only a Guardian, but a mini Guardian also.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate what he's been dealing with here. I almost wonder if at some point in time he'll just say, okay, these Sabin checks are completely cursed, I need to go and do something else, and maybe he ends up going through this Edgar sequence as well.
It could be interesting if at the end of this Edgar sequence you have like a Celeste or a Shadow that opens up quite a few others.
Yeah, I mean, Locke does get Seraphim from that check, so he's now up to 3 Espers, and he'll presumably be at 5 characters, so he's swung back into the lead by 2 Espers from that. But if Jack gets through one of these checks, finds something lucky, like you said, Scylla's or other good character, that could bring it back his way. So it's still anyone's race, but right now Locke's looking like it's in a bit of a stronger position.
Really depends on what is in the ancient castle when we get down there.
Yeah, and also, do you take the ancient castle dragon? What does the ancient castle dragon give? You know, if it's one of the really, really good items out of the pool, then that in and of itself could be huge. You know, you find an Illumina from a dragon and you're set for the rest of the seed, so...
There is a save point right before there, so I would at least test it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a shot. Plus, there's 5 required dragons in the seed, and, I mean, while they have Locke, so they could easily skip the Ancient Castle Dragon if they wanted, you probably want to take the Ancient Castle Dragon over the more solo dragons in Kefka's Tower, as Jack does get through Inferno.
And he gets a Shadow. Big find.
Yep, it's going to open up the Gau's Manor check. It's going to open up the Cable on the Veldt. You could even go for the Floating Continent. I do wonder, do you go for Floating Continent in this seed where you kind of want the fixed encounters?
It's an interesting thing. It does have 3 checks, so that alone makes it kind of helpful. I would probably say yes.
Yeah, especially where he knows he's been having a rough time with some of these. You know, Locke has a pretty big level advantage, like it's been said in chat. You know, the Shadow that Jack just got is like level 23. Locke's whole party is in its 30s. He's going to check the Manor first, but where he goes from here is going to be interesting. And the Manor does have a Setzer, so that complicates things. There's the 7 characters.
So now it's a Dragon Rush and a Hunt to find Espers for Jack.
Yep. But then there's the question of what path does Locke take through those Sabin checks? Because he's probably going to go through those Sabin checks if this ancient castle does not end up being a character. So in that case, what order does he go through? Does he do the whole Imperial base in that sequence? Does he hit the same walls, or does he just blast through them? You know, there's any number of variables that could happen right now, but Jack being on just that Esper and Dragon chase could be pretty big.
Given that Locke has, at this point, better gear and he's higher level, I think the Sabin checks won't affect him as much. I think he'll be able to push through them. I
agree, and it just becomes a matter of what's behind them, because you find, let's say, Terra behind that Barren Falls check. That could be pretty big, because then you have access to all those free checks that you can run through and like that, and with where he's at the moment, with levels where he is scaled to like level 25, 28-ish in the seed, he's in pretty good shape to deal with anything with the levels he has, so he can afford to take those free checks a lot easier than Jack can, who's going to be dealing with that bit of an uphill battle if he takes them.
I believe Locke's enemy levels are about 35 right now. It has 8 progressions, so 8 times 3 is 24, plus 10 for the extra levels.
You know what, you're right. I'd forgotten to add the 10 levels in there. That is correct. Does find Odin down there, which, I mean, obviously you're going to just take. Has Pearl, which, not really necessary if you have Ultima. You might as well use the long animation on Ultima at that point. And it does find Skull Dragon, which I feel is one of the better ones to find at this point.
Yeah, it's one of the easier ones. Most of them won't be too awful with what kind of gear he has. Those Minervas alone will negate most of the dragons and fully. Jack finding dual and not having a good time out of it.
Yeah, and we know that's an Esper, so I feel like he's going to be happy with what he finds anyways. I don't think that he's going to have as much of a problem getting through these checks at this point. He seems to be doing pretty good damage. Question in chat from Mr. Entity, what kind of ability scaling is in play? This is scaled element. So, you know, that can play into it a little bit once we get this seed scaled up enough.
Locke making a good use of that flash are doing 10 grand damage.
Yeah, that dragon is down very, very easily. So really it is just that question of, does he find those characters to get onto his own just raw Esper and Dragon hunt before Jack finds all of his Espers and Dragons?
And Jack takes down Doolan, so he's going to get one more Esper on the board.
Yep, and he gets a Genji glove for his efforts as well. Or sorry, Locke gets a Genji glove for his efforts, so yeah, it could be okay if he finds something good to use with it, but I feel like the seed has been leaning away from just raw attacking at the moment, so I'm not sure that's the best thing to find yet. And yeah, the ultimate is from the Paladin Shield. The Curse Shield was very, very generous in this flag set. In this seed, it only had 6 to uncurse, so pretty much both of them just went and uncursed that right away and then started doing checks for the most part.
We'll see what Locke decides to do now, if he goes through the Sabin checks or if he tries to go to the other Umaru check.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I kind of wonder what you do here in that case. Jack going back to deal with that Doom and Barren Falls, which seems like an okay decision. I kind of feel like at this point he might go for the Sabin checks instead and save that Umaru check for if he still needs Espers after he finds his characters, because you have the Tritalk check in the way, and I don't think you want to go for 2 bosses when only one of them has a chance of being a character right now, if you are still looking for those last 2 characters.
Jack using the retainer range to throw some shocks.
That's right, Sulfur pointing out in chat that Locke does know what the Umaru check is because he did run up to check Kefka at Narsh, so he knows that isn't a character as well. So he's going to be going to Barren Falls as well, and we're about to see 2 Dooms on the screen.
Overall, I mean, they're basically equal on progression. Locke has more Espers and Jack has more characters, but if you add them together, other than one dragon, they're basically at the same point.
Yeah, I wonder... You know, I think knowing that if he does get the 2 characters pretty quickly, that does make that whole Umaru check a bit more appealing, because you know it's not a character as well. So that information could come back later. You know, 5 required dragons, you probably want to do that Tritalk check at some point anyways. So I think once he gets that 7 character limit, I think you might actually just see him go straight for that.
Now, with everything that's on the line... Sorry about that. With everything that's on the line, do you attempt to deal with the auction house?
Depends on what the other checks available are. The auction house can be extremely quick. The big problem with the auction house is whether or not either of them is going to have enough money to do the auction house because of the lack of gold income from bosses and the fact that neither of them have really been checking treasure chests anymore. So I feel like the auction house can be a really good play. It's a bit of a gamble, but it can be very quick when it's quick. The question is, do you have faster checks on the table, and do you actually have the money at that point?
Well, to get both of them, it's going to be about 30 grand.
Yeah, but if you're... Oh, Terra, after this Baron Falls check, apparently I had psychic powers I didn't know about when spitballing out that situation, so I think Locke's going to be happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a nice gain for Locke. Can open another 5 checks. And the Imperial base is probably one of the best checks in the game, both for items and for potential characters.
Yeah, I think, too, you know, there's a question of what do you have on the table there. You could go up and do the Welk check and quickly grab that Genji shield behind it, which you could then sell if you wanted to do an auction house play, or use it if you have no better options whatsoever. But that would be an interesting play. I did not catch what ability that Terra had, but instantly going into Jack's party, no matter what, because, you know, Terra's always going to be Terra no matter what ability anyways. Blitz Terra, okay. Well, I don't think you're going to see Blitz all that much anyways, but Terra's Terra.
I wonder if Jack is doing Kefka and Narsh.
I think he might be going up to Welk, and that'll still help him too, because he'll have that... I think Welk still goes past the point where you check for Umaro. Yeah, it's right here. So he'll now also know that Umaro isn't a character, so that should make that more appealing to him as well.
So we have the Ifrit Shiva fight for Jack, not one of the harder ones, so he should be okay. Skilled element could make that a little bit interesting, because you see Ifrit throwing out the Flare Star.
Yep, and I think Locke is going for it at the same time too. There's a question of whether or not he swings back up to Kefka and Narsh, knowing that that is not a character. Because he has that knowledge from checking it earlier. Does he use that knowledge and end up possibly going to 7 Espers, even if it's an Esper? And Welk's an Esper.
Yeah, they are definitely neck and neck. This is going to be a very interesting last hour of this race.
Yeah, this has turned out to be extremely close. We're about to see what's at that Welk check. It's Kieran. So another Magicite, so that'll put Jack at 3, that'll put Locke at 6 when he gets there. And I mean, which situation would you prefer in this case? Would you prefer being at the full 7 characters with 3 Espers, or would you prefer the still needing to find a character but being at 6 Espers and a Dragon up?
So one of the issues I find when you have a lot of characters, you have so many places to go, you tend to run into more dead checks. At least if they're narrowed down a bit, it's not as likely that you'll have that many dead checks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I agree. And this seed, depending on what's available to at those Terra checks, could funnel Locke in a very different direction than Jack is going. Because Jack has Setzer, he's going to check Collingen in now. He can do Doom Gaze very easily. He has Shadow, so he could do Floating Continent. He gets a Thunder Shield from Collingen, which, you know, I guess it's an okay second prize. Really, a lot of the checks that Jack has that Locke doesn't have are very quick, but, you know, that Thunder Shield, like you said, dead checks, if you have a wider option, which one do you actually go for really matters a lot more in that situation. Locke going for the Collapsing House and Zen check 2, so we'll know ahead of time what he's going for. It's a ghost sprite, so it's either an Esper or an item. He's looking like he could end up hitting those Espers early, but we do have viable Illuminas in Colingen. And I think an interesting thought on that too, as Jack enters Daryl's tomb, is that Locke did not check Colingen, I don't think, in his early shopping, and he doesn't have a reason to be funneled there because he doesn't have Setzer like Jack does. So there's a chance that Jack has found those Illuminas, and Locke might not necessarily ever go there. So that's a close situation here. You have to excuse us for just a moment. We're having a little tiny bit of a technical snag here. The collapsing house does end up being Ifrit for Locke, so that puts him at 7 Espers, 6 characters, 1 dragon. I kind of feel like he's probably really wondering, okay, where's the character? Where's the character? He's going to check Mobley's now. Jack, still in Daryl's tomb. It's a bit of a walk, but he'll get there eventually. What is at this Mobley's check and that 23.6k in the clock is probably going to define a lot of what happens from here. Mobley's is a flame shield, so Locke probably just going to take his 24,000, go ahead and steal the children's life savings and leave. Looks like he's going to do that. So that is a bit of an unfortunate waste of time for him. I mean, at least he has the knowledge. He has Zozo still open to him from Terra checks. He still has Imperial Base that he hasn't gone to yet. Zozo looking like it's going to be the next one as Jack resets out of Daryl's tomb.
Yeah, the only good place for Gal is in a trash can anyway, so might as well just leave him behind the grave.
Yeah, and there's really no reason to take a character in his chance. He's going to go fight number 24 in the sky, at very least, and hopefully this will be the Esper he's looking for.
Do you have any characters you absolutely dislike seeing?
No, not really. I kind of just accepted Strago as being a natural part of the game after the first few weeks of this tournament and made my peace with that early on, so then when we got to the mandatory Fanatics Tower in week 6 with no magic was around the time when I was like, you know what, it's not his fault, it's just the game being the game.
We do see the Strago specialist in our chat room at the moment. Hello, Zelfer.
Yep.
Zelfer was our 4th place finisher. Very good showing in the Kefka Prix, so congrats to him.
Yep, I believe he also had, out of everyone who finished every single week in the first 8 weeks, the lowest total time out of everyone, so there is that accomplishment as well. Jack gonna pick up an Esper for killing Doomgaze, and he's starting to catch up a bit on this Esper total. What is at the Dottaluma spot? It's a Welk. If Locke finds a character here, it could break it open, but every check that he finds that's not a character is probably going to put him a bit further behind.
Welk is one of those funny ones. You would think he's a total pushover. He has a lot of HP, and with the scaling element, he can kind of be a headache at times.
Yeah, the good news about this flag set is that the normalize and distort stats flag is not on. Otherwise, Welk just becomes the damage sponge of the year and just basically sits there taking several rounds to actually kill.
But Welk turns into escargot pretty quickly, and we will be gone from him momentarily, and we will see what is in Zozo's house.
I think Locke did hit the shell to bypass that, because one of the things in this flag set that is turned off is there is a flag in the bug fixes section of the flags that is enemy damage counter, which makes enemies only counter if their HP goes down anyways. And I believe I saw him use... No, wait, that was an Ice Rod. For some reason, I thought in my mind that was a Thunder Rod, and he actually absorbed it and then countered, but actually I'm incorrect. But that is still something that might come in handy later.
It looks like Locke is going to the Seal Cave now. It'll be interesting to see if he goes straight to the back, or he's going to start to get some chests at least. I don't know how much he'll get in the actual cave itself, though.
Well, I think it's a question of what does he find in this Final Fantasy VI version of Rape That Treasury. And if he finds something good here, then even if this check ends up not being what he's looking for, it could still end up being particularly helpful. Not anything massively good. I mean, the Mega Elixir is helpful, but not necessary, so kind of feel like that was a little bit of a little bit of a miss.
Yeah, he found 2 Mega Elixirs, so that's going to help with Kefka and Fallen One, but other than that, not a ton. And we see Jack playing with the pain in the butt tentacles again.
Yep. And those tentacles will earn him another Esper. The Ancient Castle will earn him another Esper after that, plus a dragon. So very quickly he could end up at 6-8-1 to Locke's 8-6-1. So I feel like he's actually in a pretty good position if Locke does not find this character soon.
It does look like Locke is just going straight to the back, not stopping at anything, which I definitely approve of.
Yeah, this was a bit of an interesting decision to go through the whole thing. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised he didn't go out and maybe consider saving outside of Imperial Base after checking it so he could just reset back and save that walk back. But I guess he does want some of these treasures in as he's going to some of the more dense rooms in here and still picking stuff up.
Well, in his mind, he needs 1 character and he needs 2 Espers, so he should get something unless it's an item.
Yeah, it's not like it's quick to walk out, but you have to feel like he's gonna, at some point, think, okay, another Esper is not a good prize. Especially because, again, he might end up deciding it's a Minerva. So, I mean, I guess it was a good thing that he went there, even if it was an item. But if he doesn't have enough Minervas already from buying them.
I was like, he bought 4, so that's probably the worst thing he could have found there.
Well, that does make the auction house look more appealing. If you just sell that spare Minerva, you should have enough for all.
The day when you have to sell a Minerva, that's awful.
It's a question at this point of do you sell the Minerva or do you sell the Snow Muffler? You sell the Snow Muffler probably 9 times out of 10, but still.
He only needs 30 grand. I think he has most of his money still.
Well, for the auction house, he'll still want a bit extra if he wants to do it quickly, because he'll want to go to the World of Ruin auction house and buy everything, so that he's taking it out of the pool and makes it quicker to cycle through. So he could go for that. He's gonna end up seeing the carbuncle at this Phantom Train. I'm interested to see if he decides doing the entire Phantom Train is worth it for 1 Esper when he's already 2 away and still needs that last character.
It looks like he is, and I can't fault him for it. He has found a few dead checks already, so he knows the guaranteed progression, so you might as well do it while you're here.
Yeah, it's just... It must feel bad at that point. You know you're 1 away from both, it is still a good thing, but at that same time, you're running out of options a little bit. You're gonna have to start doing the things that you probably didn't want to do. He is gonna have to go to Mount Colt soon, though, so that could end up playing in his favor. Jack is gonna pick up his first dragon and I believe his 6 Esperks. Yep, he has not quite gone up to there yet. So This is still looking close. I think it's likely that Locke will look for that. We'll go to Mount Colt soon, so he'll have that last character. It's a question of where do you go for that last Esper from there.
He does have a couple other options. He can go to check Mobilis, because that'll tell him exactly what's there. He can go to Elite River, which is a little bit of a grind. So there's a couple other places. I'd try to check Mobilis at this point, just to see what is there.
He did check Mobilis already. It was a Flame Shield.
Oh, okay. I must have done that when I stepped away.
Yeah, it was during that. He does, however, speaking of Moblies, find Fumbaba here at the front of the Phantom train, which is a bit of a weird engine for your train, but I suppose whatever works.
Runs off electricity and poison, I guess. Throwing out some heavy 10k damage, though. Yeah,
and that stray cat rage doing quite a bit of work, as it usually does when you end up with it getting that 7.5k on the cat scratch, which pretty good at this point.
The backwards jump is pretty amusing. So if you're Jack, where do you go at this point, knowing that you need a character in 4 Espers?
Probably more Terra checks. Also, Tritok and Umara checks, because you still need the 3 dragons, so you might as well go there and get possibly 3. You know the Umara check is not a character because you've already seen it walking up to Welk. So he's going to end up doing that plus those 2 checks, so he could end up at 882 after that. It seems like a pretty good play.
Jack found an Illumina at some point. I did not catch where he found that.
Illuminas are Force Sail and Colingen.
Oh, nice. Okay, I did not catch that.
Yeah, which Locke has not had a reason to check because he skipped over Colingen during his shopping spree and didn't find Setzer like Jack did, so he hasn't had a reason to go to Colingen yet. He does look like he's going to go for the Phoenix Cave now, though.
Yeah, he'll get that 1 check and he'll get the Red Dragon out of it, so not a bad play at this point.
And that could lead to some interesting divergence here, because if he finds his last character there, then that's going to narrow down his options. He'll probably go for that Tritok check as well. So we might know whether or not Locke will be basically in just go grab some dragons and go mode at this point.
We'll see over on Jack's side what will be awaiting Locke when he does get up to here. I mean, you gotta think he's gonna be doing the Frozen Dragon at some point soon.
Yeah, and then if he goes, well, there is a question of does he, though? Because if he ends up finding 2 Espers before he finds a character, do you walk all the way up Narsh, or do you take the Earth Dragon at Opera House, having taken the Fire Dragon here in Phoenix Cave, and then go and do the 2 Kefka Tower Dragons, knowing that you have Minervas and you shouldn't have too much of a problem with them? So I'm almost wondering if Locke's plan here might long-term be, what can I do to not walk up Narsh?
Did Locke come across Shadow yet? I don't recall.
No, he has not done Mount Colts yet, so he has not seen that whole branch of the seed that Jack has been on. So, and honestly, at this point, it's looking like he's gonna be forced to go get Shadow. It's a question of where does he go from there, because Gao Manor is Setzer.
Well, I mean, it depends. If Celeste is here, then he's all set.
Yeah, there's any number of things that could be here that literally any character will basically be a huge boost here, and he'll probably end up not going to Mount Colts, possibly even resetting out. Well, actually, no, you can't see if that's a character ahead of time, so I don't know. There's a lot of characters that you could find. I think you're right that Celeste is the best option. Cyan would be a good option as well. Because you could find Cyan and you could say, okay, I'm going to go do Mount Zozo for the dragon plus a check. And that could change things as well.
So we are about an hour in now. A couple quick shout-outs. Thank you to Franklin for the fantastic job of tracking, as always. Our restreamer today was Lord Mont 4. Thank you to both of them. And, of course, Mike Bilcom today, Anthos. It's been a pleasure, my friend.
Yep, I'm glad to be here, and thank you for joining me for this very close race so far. We do see another dead check up on top of Narsh Mountain, so this is not the thing you want to see here.
You kind of have to assume that Locke is going to find a character here. I kind of feel it. I don't know who it's going to be, but kind of getting that vibe that something is here.
Yeah, and I feel like if he doesn't, then he's got to go for Mount Colts at some point. You know, there becomes a point where Mount Colts is just really, really appealing because it's pretty quick in reality. So if he doesn't find a character here, he could just end up going there anyways.
It is not a character. It is an imp. If this is a dead check, I'm going to eat my hat. It is an Esper, at least.
So one away for both, and Fenrir in the Yeti Cave. So that is actually a really big pickup for Jack. It's just a question of, is that enough to make up for the dead check that he found at the Tritalk spot? And to answer... Sorry, go ahead.
It looks like Locke is going to Leet River. Interesting call.
You know, I still feel like at this point I would go for Mount Colts, but this is probably why I'm not here at this point as a racer. So, I'm sure he has some sort of plan in mind there. Fenrir with Magic +2 is a extremely good pickup when you have access to Ultima. That could help Jack push forward quicker than Locke can in Kefka's Tower. To answer the question from Victa in chat, we have not seen Golem or Siren yet. We did see Phantom early on that Locke has, so he's not completely lacking in any sort of calmness protection. It's just that he has the most finicky and difficult to pull off version of it.
Leet River having level magic's what you don't want to see. Using a smoke bomb to get away from him.
Yeah, I suppose if you have smoke bombs and everything's runnable, you might as well go do the river. Bad luck, kind of, getting his Locke to run away before he threw the smoke bomb there.
Jack going to kill the Opera House Dragon.
Yeah, I think I'm more curious about where he goes next. I wonder if he's going to go do sweeping through more of the Terra checks. He still has Zozo on the table. He still has Sealed Gate on the table. He might, with the knowledge that Phantom Train is an Esper, go and do that at some point. He still has not gone back to South Figaro Cave to kill out that Shotternook. He still hasn't done Collapsing House, so I think that he has a lot of relatively easy to get Espers on the table. It's a question of which checks does he go for, and does he avoid the one or two dead checks that he still has open to him?
I don't think he's a fan of the auction house, so I don't think that's going to be a thing for him.
Yeah, I don't think either of them is going to go auction house this time, as much as we were talking about it earlier. It was worth thinking about for the fun of watching someone reset over and over again. But in this case, not happening.
All right, so what boss is awaiting us on the end of the Elite River? What do you think? And I'll leave that up to chat as well.
I'm feeling like this is gonna be. I feel like with my luck personally, at the end of the river, whenever I do it, I'm excited to do this check, and then it ends up being Magimaster or something like that. So I'm gonna align with what Fraggle just said in chat and say 100% Magimaster.
It's a Doomgaze. I don't know what his levels are either.
I think he's safe. I want to say he's in like 42-ish. Doomgaze, not the most fun boss if level 42 does equal Ultima. Jack gonna do Collapsing House. That'll get him another Esper, so he'll be at 7 at that point. We'll see. And also on the does he have 7 Espers thing, I believe we might be, for the people who think it might be 7 Espers, might be thinking of when he reset out of the Phantom Train check, where he had found an Esper and then just decided, no, I'm not doing this. He does take Doomgaze down with relative ease. We'll see what he gets for the reward here, because I think Shote is a pretty okay prize. The question is, where does he go? Right now he has Mount Colts open, and he has the Tritalk check that he knows isn't available. So yeah, he's going to end up having to go to Mount Colts now. That will put him at the 7 characters and 10 Espers he needs. The question is, where does he go from there? Does he just go do the Opera House and then take the 2 dragons in Kefka's Tower? Or does he go do multiple dragons out here that he has? Does he climb Narsh, quickly do that blue dragon that we saw up there, and then take 1 in Kefka's Tower? What does he do? Where does he go?
Now, if you're Jack, you have Shadow, you have 3 checks on the Floating Continent. At this point, you need 3 Espers. Do you take that jump?
I think it depends on whether or not he's thought about running, because I think back earlier to when he hit that rough random encounter and he didn't run from it. I'm almost wondering if he doesn't realize fights are escapable, because if those fights are escapable, we know it's all normal enemies in that from the flag set. Floating Continent's really just 3 checks with an extra boss, so I kind of think he might take it.
And the thing with Floating Continent, if you're only need 1, you can jump down, get that first check, and leave.
Yeah.
Looks like Jack has 8 Espers. Thank you to Game Boy F9. And speaking of Game Boy F9, thank you to him for allowing us to showcase our Kefka and Prix here on Randomania. It's been a blast, and it wouldn't have been possible without Game Boy F9 and the Randomania family. So thank you, Game Boy.
Yep, they've hosted every single race we've had throughout this tournament, so that would be, I think we had to cancel 1 restream, so that would be a total of 18 different streams we've hosted on here, and huge thank you to them for allowing us to do that.
It's also the home of our weekly Saturday night showcase race.
So Jack is going to find Phantom behind this, so that'll put him at 9 Espers then. Locke is going to get his Shadow. He'll be 1 dragon behind Jack, but he'll have that full set of Espers. I think Locke has a little bit of a lead at this point, but it could still be close.
So now I guess we ask that same question. I think if you're Locke, you'll go check Gao's Manor first. But no, because he only needs dragons, so he doesn't need to do any more checks. He can just go.
Well, he might check Gao's Manor first anyways, on the off chance that it's Fenrir, Golem, or something else that'll help him with Kefka. It seems like an okay use of a couple quick seconds to go check that for that case, in which case he'll find Setzer. He might go check Kolingen. If he checks Kolingen, he might find those Illuminas too. But I don't think you'll see him check too much beyond that. We are seeing Locke going quickly back to Zen to presumably buy something. He's going to buy 3 of those Ragnaroks, so I don't think you're going to see him go to Kolingen at any point. Those will be quite helpful to him at this point. Not quite as good as an Illumina, but still pretty good. It's really just a matter of what dragons he goes for at this point. Jack having a little bit of a rough time with his party getting put to sleep on this Charternook fight, though.
Yeah, Charternook is never a fun fight. I think, as you said, we have the Amor Demon turned off, so it makes it even a little bit longer.
There's a question of what is Locke selling for? Is he just trying to get another Ragnarok, or does he have something else in mind? DHP does not reset every time the painting changes, no. I believe that it has just one shared HP pool between the two, but you can only damage the demon side. And yes, the Charternook flag is off. There is a vanilla amount of painting in this one. We do see Locke now going for this Opera House Dragon, which will be number 3 for him, which I kind of feel like after this he just goes straight to Kefka's Tower. The real question is, how long does it take Jack to find those 2 Espers?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. There's nothing holding back Locke from just going straight to the tower. His levels are fine to beat Kefka. He doesn't really need much. He has perfect gear. Once this dragon goes down, I think Locke's on his way.
Yeah, the only thing that could possibly trip him up is if he finds a difficult boss in one of those Kefka Tower spots that could throw him off. Like, this is random. There's nothing to say that the entire Warring Triad statue set is not just 3 Magi Masters stacked on top of each other, so we'll see what happens there. Jack now has 9 Espers, so it is just that 1 Esper, and he knows where it is.
I was gonna say, he knows he can go to Doom Train, Phantom Train, or he can go to the auction. I would probably go to the forest, which is where he looks to be going.
Yeah, I don't think that he has the money for the auction, so he is going to go for that Phantom Train. The question is, how long does it take him to get through this Phantom Train? You know that it's Funbaba at the end, which, while not a difficult boss, is a World of Ruin boss, so it does have a bit more HP than some of the other things that you could find. It could be a little bit longer than he would want it to be, and no, you cannot get out of the train. Once you grab that, you are on it until you're done. Alright, that's 3 dragons for Locke, and I think he's going to fly straight to the tower. If he doesn't, then he's flying to Narsh to take that last dragon up there. But nope, tower time it is.
So, going into Kefka's Tower, we're going to have 3.5 bosses, and then we're going to have our final battles, and they are unskilled. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Kefka is possibly the easiest part of Kefka's Tower in this particular flag set, just because of how high up the other bosses scale, and you're having to deal with them solo. So I think he could end up having a bit of a rough time if he just hits the wrong boss, which could still leave an opening for Jack to catch up, but it is kind of looking a bit like his race to lose at this point.
Not even bothering for the chest, just going straight to the back. Sorry, we have 4.5 bosses, if you consider this first Inferno spot a half a boss.
That's a good point. Locke did get an offering in Phoenix Cave, so that realm could be doing quite a bit with that Stray Cat Rage as well.
Vargas, not a boss. He's an easy pushover boss, I guess.
Yeah, I think
the boss you're worried about.
I think of the options, Vargas to me is probably one of the best options you could find in a spot like this, aside from maybe Ultros 1. And yeah, he's not having any problem with that whatsoever. Sorry for the audio issues there as well. A little bit of a hiccup there, but should be better now. While we were swapping audio between Locke and Jack there. Jack, working on taking down from Baba, does manage to get it, so it's time for him to run to Kefka's Tower too.
Just dropping out some Ultimas, and he has 8 seconds, so there we go. Okay, so we're going to be okay.
Yeah, Vargas having a little bit more HP than you would necessarily want there. Imagine if this was the distort and normalize stats flag. That could be a huge difference there.
So it looks like Jack will momentarily be on his heels. Locke having maybe about a 5 to 6 minute advantage into Kefka's Tower.
Yeah, and he's going to maintain that advantage for a bit. But the question is, does Jack have a better setup? Which I kind of question whether or not he does, unless that Terra is doing work that Locke's party is not. Jack looking like he's going to go back to Collingen and buy more Luminas, though, so we might be answering the age-old question of, is a party full of Illuminas better than a party full of Ragnaroks to the point where it would catch him up? Renfell asking, I wonder if he feels behind. I kind of wondered that too a little bit, but I feel like at 120-ish entering Kefka's Tower, if you were having a bit of a rough time early on, there's a little bit of an element of, was the other runner having a bit of a rough time early on too, and am I going to be behind because of that? So Jack in at 119.22, so about a 4.5 minute gap there.
But like you said, that could all change if Locke Either A takes a wipe, because Kefka's still coming up. Kefka can always be Kefka. And B, what other bosses we have here, and what paths that Locke's and his characters down that Jack might do a different take on it.
Yeah, let's say that your realm hops in and ends up against like a Tritalk or something like that, where she's continually smacking it, or a Magi Master, and you're suddenly just kind of hoping that you get something that can bypass defense. She might be having some issues with that. She would probably just pick a different rage if it's Tritalk anyways. But there are things that can trip Locke up pretty easily.
This has definitely been a race fitting of the finale of the Grand Prix.
Absolutely, and as was just pointed out in chat, Locke does not have calmness mitigation beyond that Phantom.
Oh no, he found Fenrir.
Did he find Fenrir? I thought that Jack was the only one who found Fenrir because it was in Sasquatch Cave, and Locke never went up for it.
Okay, maybe I might people mix up. I thought it was Locke that had found that, but yeah, okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah, he does have good evade, as was just pointed out, though, so he might actually not necessarily have a problem with that, but there's always a chance that you get, like, the 3 calmness bad luck there, and you just lose your whole party, basically.
Yeah, losing 2 people to calmness is never fun, but with the mitigation of the characters joining at average levels, he has backups, so it won't be totally awful.
Yeah. It's a question of, does he have those backups equipped and ready to go if that's the case, or does he just think he can just blast down the final tier with whatever he has left over? I think both are probably pretty equally likely. I know Jax, with that 2 Illumina Genji Glove Terra, probably just going to think, okay, well, nothing's going to kill Terra. My entire plan for the final fight is just Terra is Terra, and that's it. Right now, Jack is the 2 dragons behind as well. And Locke is coming up on Guardian, so that window for narrowing this gap is starting to close a little bit.
I mean, it's all going to come down to how Locke can handle Kefka, and will Kefka be rude tonight, I guess. Or what the other 3 bosses are. We still have 3 more bosses we got to look at.
Well, we're about to hit one of those bosses because we're about to hit that Guardian with that middle party here. So in a couple of seconds, we'll know whether or not Locke's luck might be taking a little bit of a turn for the worse.
Guardian spot having flame hitter, so nothing here, nothing worrisome.
Yeah, that's a pretty good prize to find out of everything here, especially if you're just gonna be able to dual cast Ice 2 at it. I believe, yeah, he still has Ice Rods, so this will not take long.
Yeah, even without Ice, flame hitter is not really that big of a deal. I mean, unless you're Setzer, who just takes a dirt nap.
Yeah, when you're having enemy casting Murton strats is when you get into the interesting times. Jack now up to that Vargas spot, so he's going to need to take that down quickly. I don't think he's going to have too much of a problem because he has his Terra on this side, and that Terra is very, very strong. I believe Locke's Locke might actually have a Flame Shield equipped. Oh right, actually Zulfir is right, is the Paladin Shield on that Locke in this case. Jack taking down Vargas very quickly with that double Illumina Terra. Now he just has that last dragon to worry about, which again shouldn't be a problem. He does seem like he's catching up. as time's going on.
Yeah, he's making a little bit quicker progress through here. But Locke is a bit ahead, so we'll see what happens. Really depends, I think, on what these last 3 bosses are.
Yeah, it depends on what these last 3 bosses are, whether or not you get something silly like Drula just mentioned in chat, with whether or not Tiger is kind. You know, if you get immediate party freeze on tier 2, nothing's really gonna fix that, so there's still many little things that go wrong, and with Jack catching up just over time, that could be the thing that tips this the other way.
Locke just drops the Fire 3s here in the Sumaru.
Yeah, the Sumaru is not going to pose a threat at all anyways. I think he might actually have the Snow Muffler on Locke at this point, because Locke has the Paladin shield on, so there's not as much of a reason to have the Minerva. So even the physical attacks are not going to bug him that much. And Locke does take down the Umaru. Jack has taken down the dragon, so he's going to be just on the run to that Flame Eater spot as well. 2 statues left for Locke, though, so this is going to come down to the wire. Alright, we're about to see what statue number 2 is here. And it will end up being the Three Stooges, which it's not the worst thing to see here in this case. And we're going to see the slow coming out on the Terra, which could end up being a bit of a problem. Jack now going into the Flame Eater fight is definitely catching up, definitely gaining time. That 4.5 minutes is pretty quickly disappearing, so I'm going to need to take a note of when Locke gets through this boss and see how much Jack has actually caught up at that point, because that could be the difference, is Jack just blasting through these fights. Unfortunately, he's not getting much use out of the dual Illumina Terra because he keeps running into everything that absorbs Pearl, but he could still get out of that. And, you know, even when he gets to the Three Stooges, he'll probably... You still kind of want to consider whether or not you want to just spam Ultima, just knock all 3 down quickly.
Stooges are still a pain, especially with the scaled element.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, is with the Minerva on Edgar, is I don't think that anything that they do can necessarily kill the Edgar, because they mostly use elemental magic. So while they have a couple of little dirty tricks up their sleeve, I'm not sure if any of them will really affect him there.
No, by killing one of them quickly, negated turning him to stone, so he should be okay.
And he does get through at about 128.45 here. So we'll see in a couple minutes how much time Jack has been saving as he gets to slap a Yeti with 2 Illuminas now. Meanwhile, we're also getting very close to seeing what that last boss is. And if this boss is something that could throw a wrench in Locke's plans, it will change everything. If it's not, then it's all going to come down to Kefka.
Oh, hello.
Is Vanilla Goddess something you're worried about with Rage strats? Is the question of the day.
I never want to see Goddess at all, ever. But he does have Murder Child, so he should be okay.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Oh, he also has that Pearl Rod on Sabin, though, and does just heal Goddess for a full 10k. So, Jack now entering that Stooges fight, he is definitely catching up.
I think Locke is just going to let Realm do her thing and do what she does best.
Yeah, and that Goddess is already down, so I guess it wasn't too much of a worry seeing Goddess this time around, which, you know, you almost kind of hope for some weird Goddess shenanigans when you're watching a race like this, like just bizarre love token interactions and like that, but not in this case.
So while we have a lot going into Final Kefka, if you guys have liked to be watching, please show both these runners some support, give them both a follow. Heck of a race so far. Lock Live and Jack and Swedge definitely deserve some support, so give them both a follow, please.
Yep, and the Delta hit does land on Jack's Edgar, so that is unfortunate. I hope he has something to remedy that, or he can kill one of these quickly. He does seem to have something. Nope, I'm not seeing it. He does reset. Unfortunate there.
That could be the difference, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's really, really unfortunate. But again, you know, anything can happen on this final Kefka fight. Again, Locke does not have that calmness protection. If things go wrong on the first two tiers and then wrong on the third tier too, he's going to have a lot less to save himself from the worst parts of the end of third tier there. And it looks like Jack's going to go ahead and do the Goddess statue first next, probably while thinking about how he's going to handle that Three Stooges fight.
Locke making quick work of Kefka 1 with the fireballs to the face.
Yep, and throwing things for 10k as well. Realm doing Realm with cat scratch things, so I don't think he's going to have too much of a problem on this first part. I'm more worried about, does he end up having something bad happen on later parts?
Yeah, Kefka 3 is where things could start taking a little bit of a turn.
And Jack also taking a reset out of the Goddess fight, too. That is very unfortunate. Where does he go from here? Looks like he's going to move that Paladin shield over to the Realm, which should fix things, I would imagine. So that should make that a bit easier. Gonna go and give it another try as Locke does head straight to tier 2.
Little surprised Locke didn't use an instant death to try to take care of that bottom guy.
Yeah, it seems like he's just gonna go for this at this point. Hopefully knock down Tiger as quickly as possible. Actually, does he have instant death available to him? I think he might.
Didn't he get Odin?
He did, but I'm not sure he has it equipped to anyone.
Gotcha.
In fact, I'm not sure if he has any particularly useful Huskers equipped unless he's going to try and pull off Phantom strats on final tier, because there were not many very useful Uspers for this tier here. No siren, no mute anywhere for magic, no instant death, although, again, assassin dagger, possibly. But this is going by pretty quickly for him, and Jack takes a wipe on Goddess.
Yeah, Jack unfortunately getting a little bit of the business on these last two bosses.
I apologize for any commentator's curse-related things I've brought on us with the Goddess Shenanigans comment. But Locke does lose Realm going into Tier 3. This is not a great thing, because that Realm would have helped a lot here in quickly knocking out Girl.
Yeah, Girl is a kind of the annoying part of this fight. Immune to all elementals.
I mean, I suppose he does have the X Magic Lock, which will take good use of that, which I had forgotten for a moment. But the question is he gonna get through this, and who is he gonna have left? Because to me, the question is not necessarily how well does he do on this tier, as much as what does he have left over if Calmness decides to be particularly mean today.
Kefka can use Calmness twice, so I could take out Sabin and Setzer, for example. Sabin, for example. We'll see exactly how many does it, and if he can defend it or not.
Yeah, and if he loses the lock, he's losing his double Ultima as well, as we are now hitting Train, meaning that he's in that fun counter everything stage. And there's the Calmness and Lockdown. And missing on Edgar.
Alright, so we have the Brothers of Destruction on Kefka 4.
Yep, and he has lost his two biggest damage dealers, though. He lost the Realm with the Offering plus Stray Cat Rage. He lost the dual casting Ultima Lock, so... I mean, he can do this, but it's going to be a lot rougher than he'd planned going into it.
Just an example of, regardless of how strong you are, Kefka 3 can still be Kefka 3.
Yep, and it's a question of what does Edgar have to throw. Edgar still has a lot of things. Jack now does take down Goddess, but he's still got a hope, I think, at this point, that Locke wipes to have a chance right now.
Sabin jumping over Fallen 1, but he's not getting that benefit of that cure either.
Yeah, I don't think that'll necessarily matter, because I think you might just see him throw a heal. Ooh, just barely living through that Havoc Wing with 139 health left. Not jumping over that one.
Yeah, thankfully it didn't one-shot him. I mean, Havoc Wing can do upwards of 6,000 or 7,000 points of damage at times.
He is now in the charging Goner phase, so no worries about counters at this point. It's just throw what you got and hope for the best. We just gotta wait until this is over. Not very much health left on Kefka, though.
Kefka can start counter with Ultima at this point, because he's getting that low.
Yep. Anytime now, though, he'll have it. He's got his Sabin in the air. It really just comes down to this, and that is it. Locke has won the tournament.
Congratulations to Locke. Very well done, well played, and congratulations to Jackness for taking second place also.
Yep. That was a very, very impressive run to watch on both sides. Unfortunate that it sort of fell apart at the end for Jack, but, you know, sometimes randomizer going to randomizer, and that was definitely one of those moments. But very, very good play from both of the players in this final.
Jack, unfortunately, running into a little bit of trouble with Goddess and the Stooges.
Yeah, and the question is, how big is the margin going to be here at this point? I believe we're getting ready to pull in Locke for an interview, though.
And we do have the winner of the Kefka Grand Prix with us, Locke. GG, my friend. Well played.
He has muted for a moment, so we might have...
Yeah, I just saw that.
Oh, yep, sorry. Thank you. I'm a little shaky right now because I wasn't expecting that.
So that Kefka fight looked like it started getting a little interesting on you.
I'm sad that I had a throw queued up because otherwise I could have saved Realm because Hit really wanted her dead. He just really wanted her dead. But wow.
So
Yeah.
how did you enjoy the Grand Prix? Now that you've won it, how are you feeling about it?
Feeling a lot better now that I've won it. Like, I'm feeling real good now, but yeah, that scene was actually a lot of fun. That was the first time I ever actually really used Rage.
Yeah, not usually very many uses for Rage, but I guess you don't usually have them all unlocked from the start.
Right?
Unfortunate you lost Realm, and then you also lost your Locke with the dual cast on tier 3, so you had probably your worst 2 damage dealers left over at that point, which can't have been a great feeling at that point.
Well, luckily with Edgar, at least he was doing quad 9s with basically anything I threw, so I was at least fine there. All I had to do was just count enough throws, and I knew I had 4 Mega Elixirs. So it was like, alright, I'll just pick up whoever comes up with me. They can just throw elixirs all day. And I'm actually really glad Shadow was still alive, because I'm like, oh, I don't have to pick anyone up. Just jump, throw. Just throw Mega Elixirs, so I'm fine there.
So just a heads up on what happened at the end. It was very close. Jack unfortunately took a wipe to Goddess and a wipe to Stooges.
Ooh, yeah, that Goddess. I'm glad she doesn't love token Cat Scratch. Today I learned.
The other thing she'll love token is direct physical attacks to her, so just anything with a fight command.
Yeah, so I didn't actually know that. So I was like, I'm hoping Cat Scratch will actually work out. Like, this should work.
Now, what I want to know is, you hit that point where you had that very long dry spell where you were at 6 characters. What was going through your thought process in terms of what you were looking for at that point?
I was looking for a character, any character. And I figured, like, when I did Phantom Train, I was like, I do need 1 or 2 more Magicite. I'll go ahead and just knock this out. And I proceeded, like, the next 2 checks just to get more Magicite. I'm like, alright, should have just skipped Phantom Train. So I was just kind of going through.
Yeah, we were wondering for a while how many checks we were going to end up going through, because I think, from what I could tell, that seed was just hard locked behind that Mount Colts.
It definitely was, because you didn't get any other characters. I checked literally everything. Mount Colts was my last check. Which then immediately locked Shadow and Setzer, so I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was interesting to see a bit of divergence, because Jack had gone through Mount Colts significantly earlier, and it sort of became a race of, will you find that one character before he finds his Espers, and ended up being only about 4.5 minutes difference between the two of you going into Kefka's tower.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Dan, that's crazy close. I'm glad it was a good one, then. Definitely glad it was a good final.
Yeah, I think definitely gave us a good show here for the final. So thank you for putting on a good race, for your definite show of skill here, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be taking off because I got to join some friends for Zooter now. So thank you everyone again for the restream. Thanks for everyone for commenting. And thanks for putting together this tournament. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
And thank you for participating, and hope you have a good night, and GG's in chat for our KGP winner, Lockco Live.
Congratulations, man. Hope to see you next time.
Yep, of course. Thank you very much.
And just to rejoin the action here, we are seeing Jack now entering that final Kefka fight with his team. Did manage to get through the Goddess and Stooges fights pretty swiftly on the runs that he got through them, you know. Just was a matter of some bad luck. Getting that hyperdrive off the Goddess especially was probably the worst thing that could happen there. And it's just a question of how quickly will you get through here now, and what will the final margin be? Because no matter what, you know, bad luck aside, this was definitely a very close race between two very evenly matched players.
Jack making extremely quick work at Kefka 1, going to Kefka 2.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have any problems with this. You know, those two bosses we were saying going in was, you know, any of those sub-bosses were going to be harder than the final boss, even if the final boss can just occasionally throw you a curveball. So he's kind of demonstrating that now and not really having too much of a problem with this.
Stacking the double Luminataire is all but immortal.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to kill her. If she gets hit with Calmness twice, then I think that's probably the best option for him to have happen, honestly. So, you know, he's in good shape.
Throw out 20k damage a hit.
And I think an interesting contrast between the two of them is, in Locke's case, he used Realm with that offering that he found in Phoenix Cave, just spamming Cat Scratch. On Jack's side, he's ended up using Realm to cast Ultima because he found that Magic +2 Esper pretty early on and used that to get a whole bunch of magic stat on her. So it's another good example of just how those little variations in your route early on can change the whole way you approach things with your party as well in this randomizer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said at the beginning, they both went two extremely different routes, and they were in Kefka's Tower within, 4 minutes of each other?
4.5, pretty much exactly, give or take a couple of seconds. And then Jack had caught up before the unfortunate RNG happened to him. At least a minute of that time, so you know, he definitely has the stronger setup. He just hit that bad luck. And we're now getting into Tier 3. The question of the day is, how does he kill Gerlin back? Does he risk Terra swinging on her and hitting that Pearl proc, or does he just try and take her down first?
I would just double Ultima and just be done with it.
And out comes the Fenrir. Only has the one Ultima because he does not have the gem box on that realm, but, you know, Ultima once plus the Illumina that won't proc because the enemy is dead is just as good.
Jack does make use of that Fenrir, so he will have his full team for Kefka 4.
Yeah, and then honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you see, both the Fallen One skip and Goner skip with this party. So it should be over pretty soon for him.
Only gets one calmness, and just Realm just shakes it off. So here we go, Kefka 4 for Jack and Swedge.
I think the real question is, how long does Kefka last at this point? Because I would say maybe 2 rounds of combat from all of this party, and that's it.
Yeah, I think it's suffice to say, Kefka's going to be treated very weirdly here.
Oh, but Train did actually silence his realm, so there is some downside for him there.
Terra's just like, okay, I'll just swing my giant sword at you.
And out does come Fallen One, so gonna take a little bit longer than expected, although Sabin does jump over it, so there's that at least. Terra hitting for 10k with the Illumina. Each round is 20k, well, about 16k, because she's actually hitting for 8 per round, so this will be over very quick.
Jack does have to be a little worried about the calmness. Well, here's Gunner, that, so he should be fine.
And there's the flash, there is the end. Time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 32 seconds for Jack. Yes, that is the final boss flash of the tournament. It's been a wild ride. Let's see if we can get Jack in here to talk about it.
Well, while we are waiting on Jack, just quick shout outs one more time. Thank you to both our runners, Jack and Swedge and Lock Cole. Thank you to our restreamer, Lord Mart 4. Our track today was Frogen86. My co-com today was Enthos. And of course, thank you to Atmatech, Ravlin Bay, Cecil, and everyone else who has helped out, Future Force, Mish RD, and just a whole laundry list of people who have helped make this tournament successful. So thank you all. And we do have Jack with us. GG, Jack, well played.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I lost by 12 minutes. Did I miss something or what? Like, I ran into a little bit of trouble in a couple of places, but
honestly, those 2 wipes are what did it for you. Unfortunately, you were right on his heels until that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The bosses didn't line up for me well at a couple of the goddess statue spots, but that's not 12 minutes, so I don't even know. Well, I guess to be fair, Chardanook decided to be a huge word I can't say on this family-friendly-ish stream and decided to waste 3 of my minutes. But, like, I don't know. Like, everything went really well for me. I didn't, go into the finale expecting to straight up win or anything, but I didn't expect to lose by 12 friggin' minutes either, right?
You were about 4.5 behind going into Kefka's tower, and you had caught up to about 3 minutes behind before the wipes happened because you had a much stronger party in the actual end outside of the bad luck on those bosses that led to the wipes. The other big difference was early on where you... the other 2 big differences I noticed were the Sabin checks and resetting out of those where Locke had gone a different route around instead. And the Chardanook early, as you said. which would probably be about where those 4.5 minutes came out.
Well, sounds like a case of rando gonna rando. I can live with that at least. I'm just gonna say, well, for anyone that knows me from streaming, I'm not allowed to win tournaments, so I was kind of expecting this. I'm a little disappointed. Got my hopes up, thinking, oh man, I'm in a finals match again. But I mean, congratulations to Locke. He clearly kicked the crap out of this if he beat me by 12 minutes there, and I don't feel like I did anything particularly bad other than rando gonna rando. So I don't know. I think I can walk away with my head held high with a silver medal here.
Yeah, I thought you did really well. I think you just had a issue with the last two paths, and that's kind of why it happened. And otherwise than that, you did perfectly fine.
Yeah, I really like these flags too, where all the chests are empty because I usually don't check most of them anyway. So I'm just like, oh, you gave me $500,000. All right, cool. I'm gonna buy all the nice things that I see that I know that are nice, and I guess I took a little out of my way detour before going into Kefka's tower to pick up a second Illumina, but that's another 10k damage per turn. It was worth it for going out of my way 20 seconds to buy that.
Yeah, and Locke hadn't found the Illuminas, but he did make a similar detour to go buy a bunch of Ragnaroks instead.
Yeah. The Ragnaroks, well, you were pretty much guaranteed to find because they were just on the path for one of the earlier characters there. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch this one back and kind of see how it went there. I mean, Locke's a really good player and is basically flown under everyone's radar because I don't think he's really gotten a whole lot of restreams or anything like that. So, he deserved to win. The best player won, and I'm okay with that.
All right. Well, that was Jackman's Weds. GG, Jack. We'll hope to see you next time because we will have another tournament coming up soon.
Let's go, Bruins!
All right. And before we close it out, any final thoughts, my friend?
For me, just that it was a very, very good race run by these two players. Like was said, it was a little bit a case of just rando gonna rando, although Locke's route did also just end up being better in some ways as well. And I think most importantly, a big shout out to not only everyone who's helped with the restreams, but everyone who's been here watching every single restream for the past 9-10 weeks. It's been a wonderful ride, and thank you all for coming out.
Couldn't say any better myself. So with that, on behalf of my co-commentator Ethos, my restream behind the scenes, Lord Mort, on behalf of Fraugen86, on behalf of the Final Fantasy VI World Squad admin staff, we all thank you for watching. We're going to say hi to Mr. Entity, and we're going to show him a raid. Come say hi, and we will see you in a couple months when we have another tournament here at the Final Fantasy VI World Squad community. Thank you, guys. Okay.